French and Referent, The Basis of Social Power in Studies of Social Power, 1958, identified 5 different sources of power in organizational relationships. And the first one was legitimate power, which is also known as positional power. And as the name suggests, this power is based on the position a person holds. Legitimate power comes from rules, formal authority, organization rank, staff grade, or official position held. It comes from the belief that a person has the formal right to make demand and to expect others to be compliant and obedient. Now, a national sales director of a major company is likely to be able to make more decisions in a negotiation without checking back with the HQ than the regional sales director of the same company. Now, number 2, we have reward power, which is also known as resource power. So this power comes from a person's ability to reward, or offer something to the other person. This type of power tests individuals' ability to pay money or offer some kind of attractive inducement, not always legal or ethical, to the other person to get them to change their behavior. So in negotiation context, a bigger company is always viewed to have more of this reward power because they're likely to give you a bigger contract. They're likely to introduce you to other big companies. And so they kind of have this sort of power. At least that is the perception, right? That they have that sort of power. And by the way, the reward does not need to be money. It could include things like introduction to other buyers in the group, positive reference, agreement for trial of new products, quicker payment, or any other variable that the buyer knows is attractive and valued by the supplier. And then we have expert power. Now, that is the power that one has because they know stuff, because they're an expert, Basically, what they are an expert in. Now, looking at this from a practical sense, Imagine you're a procurement manager negotiating the purchase of IT equipment for your company. So, how do you leverage expert power in this case? Before you go for the negotiation, you conduct proper research on the latest advancement in IT equipment. Now, this will include things like specifications, performance benchmarks, market prices, and then now you go for the negotiations, right? So you've already done your research. During the negotiation, you bring out expertise by discussing technical specifications and performance metrics of the IT equipment. You explain how certain features align perfectly with the company's requirement and can contribute to increase efficiency and productivity. So what is happening in that negotiation is that you are positioning yourself, in a situation where you are going to be viewed as an expert, as somebody who knows what they're talking about. When it comes to cost justification, the vendor may present various pricing options, but you will leverage your expertise to justify costs and prices. Expert power, expert power is based on things like facts, knowledge, research, insight, study, etc. Then we have referent power, which is also known as personal power. So this power is based on image, personality, and charisma. In commercial negotiation, this source of power may be exercised through demonstrating honesty, fairness, and respect in dealing with supplier, while acting ethically all times, respecting confidentiality, and creating reputation of being tough but fair. But things like brand, things like your image may take time. So you're probably wondering, what if I'm just negotiating for the first time with someone who doesn't know me? Then how do I do this? Imagine a situation where a salesperson, let's call her Sarah, is trying to sell a software solution to a potential customer. So let's call that customer Alex, who is the head of a small business. Sarah has also developed a strong relationship with John, who is a well-known industry expert, and it turns out Alex admires John's expert opinion. That is actually why you're supposed to do your research, because you never know, You never know what will turn out to be leveraged. So in this case, Sarah did a research, figured out there's a guy who's an expert called John, who Alex admires. During the negotiation, Sarah strategically brings up the fact that she has a close relationship with the industry expert. She might say something like, I was discussing your business needs with John recently, and we were thinking about how our software solution could address some of the challenges you've been facing. What do you think is the point of that statement? Why do you think Sarah is saying that? Well, the point is, Sarah is leveraging referent power by associating herself with the respected industry expert. Now, since Alex holds the expert in high regard, and by aligning herself with that person, Sarah gains influence. And number two, Alex, being influenced by the high regard he has for the industry expert, may feel more inclined to trust Sarah's recommendation and consider the software solution more seriously. Now, next, we have coercive power, also known as physical power. Now, this is the power to threaten sanctions, hand out punishments, or physically intimidate others if the compliance is not obtained. Think of it this way, okay? Imagine a situation where a vendor, let's call them XYZ Electronics, is negotiating with a potential client, in this case Jane, who is interested in purchasing a bulk order of electronic components for a manufacturing business. Now, in this procurement context, let's assume that XYZ Electronic has a unique patented technology that is crucial for Jane's manufacturing process. And they are the only supplier in the market with this specific technology. Obviously, that sort of thing is going to come up as leverage when they're negotiating, right? It's going to be some pressure point during that negotiation. Anyway, during the negotiation, the sales representative from XYZ Electronics subtly introduces the idea that if Jane doesn't agree with their terms, they may face challenges in meeting production deadlines due to lack of alternative suppliers with the required technology. So, what do you think is actually going on here? XYZ Electronics is using coercive power by implying that if Jane doesn't comply with their terms, she may face disruptions in her manufacturing process, leading to potential delays, increased cost, or other negative consequences. Number two, Jane, realizing that the dependency on XYZ's electronics unique technology, may feel compelled to agree to their terms and to avoid potential disruption in a manufacturing process. So in this case, the fear of the negative consequence will give XYZ Electronics leverage. It is important to remember that the use of coercive power all the time can strain the relationship and may not lead to long-term success. So building mutually beneficial relationships and focusing on collaborative solutions is generally a more sustainable approach in business negotiation. And then we have informational power. So this is the sort of power that you gain because you have an ability to control some information which is critical, okay, to that negotiation. Think of a scenario where a buyer, let's say Emily, is negotiating with a supplier, Mark, over the purchase of a rare and highly sought after antique. So Emily is an antique collector and Mark is the owner of an antique shop, okay? So Mark the seller, Emily the client. Mark possesses detailed information about historical significance, origin, and condition of the antique. Now, during the negotiation, Mark strategically shares specific details about the antique's provenance, highlighting its authenticity, historical importance, and scarcity in the market. So in this case, Mark might say something like, this antique you are interested in is not only one of a kind piece, but also has a rich history dating back to 18th century. In fact, I recently discovered some additional documents that authenticate its origin, making it even more valuable to collectors. So you see, how has power played in this whole process? Well, Mark holds informational power because he has access to unique details about the antique that contribute to its value. So Emily, as a collector, is highly interested in obtaining the accurate and rare information about the item she collects. Emily, recognizing the depth of Mark's knowledge and uniqueness of the information he possesses, may be more inclined to trust the authenticity and value of the unique antique. So here's the thing. I have added a PDF, okay? PDF, think of it as a negotiation power cheat sheet, okay? So it will show you the various situations in negotiation between a buyer and supplier and the kind of power that can be used. For example, if a buyer does this, then if the situation is like this, then they're going to use expert or whatever power. So make sure you download it, okay? It's in the resources.